Good morning, good morning.
Good morning, everybody.
All right, where is it? There we go. Give us just a second here. Sharing to our groups. Do you have?
Yeah, there it is.
And bingo.
Bingo.
Easy. How do I get rid of this now? Oh, how do I get rid of that? Oh, you know your phone better. Okay, awesome. We're on. Oh, welcome to Braveheart Conversations. I am Jillian Aurora, and this is my beautiful, lovely co-host, Marie Wallace.
Hi, guys.
Good morning. Well, is it still morning? Yeah, it's still morning.
We've had a lovely morning.
We've had lots of Braveheart conversations today.
Yes.
So this morning, I'm really excited to talk about holidays because this is always kind of a challenge every year that we hear about. And this year in particular, I think is going to be an even more interesting year because there's so much conflict. So I want to talk about holiday expectations. This is just a really interesting, fascinating time of the year for me because this is when everybody's boundaries seem to go out the window because it's the holidays. So because it's family, because it's Christmas, because it's whatever.
All the stress is piled into one spot.
This is the time that it is socially acceptable to let everybody slide and be disrespectful and dishonoring and all of the things. So I want to talk about what those expectations generally are and why it is still absolutely not okay to betray yourself, whether it is the holidays or not. So, Marie, tell me a little bit in all of your wise years, what has been difficult about holidays for you, and have you had those moments where you've been faced with this like challenge between, do I choose myself and choose to honor my boundaries, or do I just say, well, I can do this for a little while. I can just deal with it.
They've all gone smoothly, never had one problem.
Damn it. Just me.
Next question. No. Oh, man. I think it's because there's so many layers of expectations. There's the family expectations and holiday expectations and all the other things piled at once. And so it is maybe prioritizing which ones are most important at that time, and what's worth, what is it worth standing up for, and what is it like in this situation, maybe, it's so, for me in the past, it's like, what is okay? And, of course there are those layers of being exhausted from long time periods of things, right? And then, so, no, it's all gone smoothly for me. How about you?
Bullshit.
Oh, that's awesome.
No, I've definitely dealt with lots of people pleasing in my life, and the holidays seem to be a time where that is even more so the case. I think that there are expectations of time. You're expected to give up your time. You're expected to hang out with people that you may not like, your family members.
Or no, sometimes there's people you don't know.
Yeah, true. And we've talked about family boundaries with family before, and this is just another layer where sometimes we will set these boundaries that we know what is respectful of ourselves, we know what's honoring, we know what we will and won't allow. But then if it's a family member, we say, well, basically they're an exception. And I'd really like to challenge that belief because there are no exceptions to your self-respect, period. I don't care who they are. If they are a family member or a spouse or a best friend, like it really doesn't matter who they are. No one has the right to disrespect you. No one has the right to violate your boundaries and your rights. And so we're the only ones that put ourselves at the mercy of other people. If I say, because I've known Marie for 20 years,
I got to pass.
I have to tolerate.
Oh, I hate that word.
Right?
Yeah.
So I think it
just means you have to put up with me.
Yeah, and that's not a genuine relationship.
No.
So if every year Marie came to my Thanksgiving and every year Marie talked about politics and made everybody angry and was super obnoxious, and I told Marie, you're not allowed to do that anymore. This is an off-topic conversation. Like, we're not doing this anymore in my house. If I were to say that and then Marie kept doing it, here's where we get into trouble, because sometimes we will say, well, I've known Marie for 20 years and she's a really great friend of the family, and so I'm just going to keep putting up with it. And this isn't respectful to me or to Marie.
Or the other guests.
Yeah, because who wants this miserable Thanksgiving?
Yeah.
And we're all putting ourselves at the mercy of Marie now. Not that Marie would ever do this. It's
Never.
Totally crazy scenario. But, or there's lots of other things that people do. But I think that dishonoring conversation, I think, is a really common thing. Or maybe it's somebody that gets obnoxiously drunk. Maybe because we all have those alcoholic family members that they can be super triggering, and you aren't obligated to stay in triggering situations and disrespectful situations, but we often think that we are, just because they're family or just because it's the holidays. So one of our commenters here says, brilliant. Too often we make excuses for family members, some code of letting them be disrespectful because they are family. Yes.
And sometimes it's unwritten, right? We don't even notice it. We're not aware of the compromises we're making.
Yeah. And that's why, we call these things programming, because they are things that we're usually unaware and just assuming. It's coming from this place of assumption. And so until we get them, bring them to our awareness and challenge them, then we get to actually make a choice. But until they're in our awareness, they're not even choices that we're making. They're just subconscious programming. So, time is one of them. Who we spend our time with is one of them.
Topics.
Yeah, another thing that I see very often is the obligation to buy presents that we may not want to buy. So using our resources when we may already feel overstretched, and we may be depriving ourselves. And then the other thing, specifically for women, that I see a lot is we feel that we need to put in a lot of effort to make a perfect holiday, whether that's a dinner or some sort of an experience, that somehow that's our obligation to create that, and we're working much harder than everyone else at creating that experience. There's a lot of perfectionism.
Which takes out of our fun.
Totally. And then what happens?
Our enjoyment, it's not a relationship. It's, again, just this.
Yeah, and we've created this fantasy in our head of what is supposed to be perfect. And then it becomes this big letdown, because a lot of the time
it never comes out perfect.
It's not what we imagined. And so we have this perception of the perfect dinner, or the perfect Christmas morning, or whatever the picture perfect image is in our mind that we're striving so hard to create. We're working a month or more to get to that perfect day. And there's a lot riding on that day, and we are literally putting ourselves at the mercy of this fantasy instead of allowing things to organically unfold and allowing for equally contributing relationships. So I really believe when the feelings are mutual, the effort is equal. And when the effort is equal, like, they're showing you what their genuine feelings are. You're not having to manipulate or coerce someone into having effort given. If someone genuinely wants that, wants to create that Christmas with you, then they are going to be contributing their energy and their effort.
And it becomes more of an experience instead of a people-pleasing right? When we get into that people-pleasing energy, it's very icky. But if someone's collaborating with me and we're doing I call it a project in a good way, because there are projects that we don't feel, but if it feels like this collaboration, it's a whole different energy. And honestly, coming from that energy, which party do you want to go to? Do you want to go to the one where you feel those expectations are on you, right? Because if you know you have that one person that's the people pleaser, and they fail you, then it's going to come to you. Or do you want to be the one that everyone is feeling a part of, and the experience is together? I mean, you can already feel that energy, right?
Yeah. Well, and the downside too is if I'm trying to force a perfect Christmas, then what happens is
you feel that at the door.
Yeah, how dare you, step on the carpet with your shoes on because I worked so hard to make this the perfect day. And it becomes very wrapped up in me and my perfect image, right? Instead of allowing an organic celebration to be created, instead of the one that's already created in my head. I'm curious and learning what is it going to be. I don't know what it's going to be this year, and I don't know how this is going to unfold. And there's beauty in that curiosity and surprise instead of this like very forced and orchestrated event. But I do see this dynamic a lot, this like codependent dynamic where one person is expected to put all the energy into making this perfect holiday. So it may not be just...
And the cleanup. That one person's in charge of everything from the beginning to the end. And it's, to me, that causes resentful energy, because I've actually been to parties and been that person too. And I go, well, that's not the feeling I want. So I think the overarching question when I go, if I'm the person maybe in charge of the holiday, because, this year everyone's coming to my house. So then what is important in this event? Just thinking about that. What's important? Is it important that everything's perfect? Because A, it's never going to be, right? And B, isn't it about the connections that we want to make? And I love the curiosity. I'm just like a 5-year-old inside. The curiosity of what will unfold and how to, just to go in there and, begin to create, but know that the expectation will most likely fall through. Just enjoying each other, right?
Yeah, and I also think, this is a theme not necessarily in the holidays, but all the time, thinking that when I am taking on responsibility for someone else's happiness and creating their happiness, whether that's holidays or something else, then they start to believe that I'm responsible for their happiness. And they will never end up being happy with what I'm able to create for them, because ultimately I don't have the power to create anyone's happiness but my own. But when I believe that I'm responsible for it and they believe they're responsible for it, then I end up in this perpetual cycle of believing I'm not good enough, because I'm not good enough for what they're expecting and what I'm expecting of myself, because I was never created to do that and be that. I was created to be happiness, not to create happiness. So that is something within myself, not something that I can make someone else be. So the holidays, I think, are such a great representation. It's like what we're doing all year on steroids. So this is when we get to look at so much of our programming and so much of our self-betraying tendencies. So this is a time where we really get to be true to ourselves, and we get to face so much of the guilt programming. Because I think that there is a lot of guilt programming that's saying like, well, if you don't do this, like you're being selfish, you're being a mean person,
and you should have a good time.
But it's good time on my terms, right?
No, it's the way oh my gosh.
So, I mean, this is true. Like,
that's the feelings that we feel. I mean, that's why I brought it up. So good.
So very often what happens is if I say, actually every time I go to Christmas with my family, it's dramatic and I end up being unhappy, I have the choice to say, you know what, I think I'm just not going to go, or I'm going to limit my time, or I'm going to, construct it in a different way where I get to experience Christmas the way I want to. And you will face that pushback. But it's Christmas, but it's the holidays, but you're supposed to. But how selfish are you? You know? But I get to be true to myself. If I want to experience Christmas a certain way, I get to honor that. And I get to not live my life or the holidays or whatever on somebody else's terms. Because somebody else's holiday, they might think that, you know, that's happy for them. That's what they want to do. But that doesn't have to define the way that I want to create my holidays.
We have some.
Yeah, one more comment.
Hi, Mishakina.
I used to be that person that took it all on. It was important for me to be the perfect hostess. Now I know better. If it doesn't spark joy for me, I don't do it. Hell yeah. Yeah. Same for
That's
me.
that overarching thing, right? Was it bringing joy?
Yeah. Self-sacrificing isn't always the way. And as females, we've often been taught that is the way, that we are supposed to be accommodating and put our own feelings and our own joy on the back burner. And we actually serve no one when we do that. When we shut ourselves down and we suppress ourselves and we betray ourselves, we don't show up thriving and we don't show up in joy. And bringing that energy is actually so detrimental to everyone.
It's not very holiday-ish.
No, it's not.
I also want to talk a little bit about what we can do. So, because some of us may be that person who is holding the holiday, and that presents a whole different dynamic. And there are things that I can do as the hostess that are proactive, right? Maybe I need to do some self-care, a lot of sleep, maybe some really good planning, but not be attached to the outcomes, because I think that's when I get into some trouble. Create some experiences and be okay and be curious. But there's a lot of self-care that I get to do, and ways to protect how I feel and how things go down, and maybe even have some rules of engagement.
Yes.
I think that's super important when things go down. And yeah.
I love that you brought this up. Yes, if you are having holidays on your turf, in your home, it's very important to set your boundaries, to know what is and isn't okay. So for me, that might look like, rules of engagement at my house. I don't have alcohol in my house. Substances are limited in my house. Maybe topics need to be, especially this year. Maybe there's things that you really want a peaceful holiday. Well, there's some, things that aren't pleasant right now that people like to talk about.
You can take that offline.
Yep. You could set time limitations. This event will be from X time to X time.
And then I give you the boot. No, I'm just kidding.
You're not allowed to invite additional people. These are just things that come up for me.
That you're brainstorming.
Right. That are simple ways. Or if you're one that, like we've talked about, that tends to put more effort in than other people, saying, not as a question, but saying, like, I will be making XYZ food, and there is XYZ food that needs to be cooked. Who wants to do that?
Yes.
Or bring that? So that you aren't putting all of the burden on yourself for hosting.
Same way as cleanup, because I've been left on holidays before where it was just me and Joe doing the cleanup, because we didn't have an expectation or a invitation. I like that better. An invitation of, like, who can help with this? Because we can't do it all on our own, or we'll be here all night if we do it. So maybe just having more invitations for people to be included. And more often than not, when we send that invitation out, someone almost always like, oh yes, I want to help. And they may not even know, they may think it's your turf and not even know that it's okay for them to.
Yeah.
I mean, at our house, obviously, we're really good at invitations, but there have been times when we haven't done that, and people are just waiting for that
I think that sometimes that's the case. Sometimes people don't step up to the plate, which
that's
this is too. Where I get to be unattached to the outcome. So I can throw out what I'm available. I like to phrase it like I'm available for. I'm available, for an example, I'm available to make the turkey, the stuffing, and the mashed potatoes. And I get to release any attachment to anything else.
And that could be all that's for dinner.
That could be it.
I've done that too, actually. And whatever else happens is, I mean, it could be, going to the Chinese restaurant.
Right. But I think sometimes setting those healthy boundaries, it is it's putting it on the group. The responsibility is for the group, not just for the one person, but saying, this is what I'm willing to contribute. And if everybody else is fine with just having those 3 items, then that's fine. But if people want more than that, then they're going to have to contribute, because it's not just on one person. And this is a relearning for all of us, because I think in the wounding of the sacred feminine, this has been a really common theme of the oppression. It's just this assumption that it's okay to consume the feminine or the matriarch of the family, right? That it's all on her to create this perfect event. And so it's a both and when we're healing from this programming. As women, part of it is raising the accountability and the responsibility of others and saying, it's not a forcing them to do it. It's saying, this is all I'm going to do. And I will leave the rest to fall apart if no one else wants to pick it up. But the beautiful thing is, I've found that most of the time it gets picked up.
It does. Well, it's being unattached to the outcome again. It truly, truly is. I have felt that particular wounding before, because I was programmed that if your house doesn't look clean, if the kids aren't raised right, or, there was a whole long list of things that I was programmed that it was my fault. And so it's really good to be having this conversation, because we don't want that for you either.
Yep.
It's a shared experience. It's a shared division of labor. It's a shared, I like the word collaboration, because then we're all working together for the same, goal and outcome, and you're invested in it, which is a whole different energy than she's making me do the dishes, right? It's an investment in, we're all going to have a good time, and we're all going to be in this. And the division of labor makes it go that quick. And then we all have more time to spend together. That's in a different, it's a whole different energy than if I'm in there doing the dishes, because I have before. I'm in there doing dishes and resenting the hell out of everyone that's having fun, because I'm not out there having fun with them. So, yeah.
Yes. Yes, I can relate to so much of that and resonate with that. And that is such an ancient wounding of the feminine, is this idea that we are nurturing and caring for everyone else, and we can't partake in the fun. When we all share the work, which also means as women, we allow, it's like we aren't the inviters of doing the work. It's actually leaving it undone and letting the work be the invitation itself.
Oh, I like that.
It's like, because it's undone and you're willing to let it be undone, that becomes the invitation to step up and for everyone to contribute. And I like that idea of reclaiming the ability to have fun and be in play and enjoyment of the holidays, because it isn't our job to just make it happen. The beauty of the feminine is actually being in enjoyment and being present and being in play and spontaneity. That is the beauty of the feminine. So all of those matriarchs out there who tend to be the one coordinating the whole holiday event and making it happen, like, we get to take a look at where we're over functioning and taking on more responsibility than what is really ours to claim.
And on another note too, it doesn't always have to be planned, because some of the most fun times we've had of just letting it be and see what organically comes up, going back to the curiosity word, because you know, there have been times when I've planned these games and done these things, and everybody just wanted to talk. And that's okay too. Just being okay with what is. Be okay, because that's what's needed at the moment. And everyone has naturally fallen into place doing that. And why go against the grain? Because sometimes we cause ourselves more grief going against the grain too. And just be with what is. Enjoy.
Absolutely. Yeah, we get to enjoy and we get to honor our desires in the holidays. We have gotten so accustomed to suppressing our desires, and they are not irrelevant during the holidays. Your desire to just be in the moments, instead of rushing to
take that breath.
Yeah. Be in the enjoyment and the pleasure of it. I do want to take just a moment to talk about COVID and how...
I think there's one more question.
Is there? Quick. Did I miss a question?
I think someone just wrote... Oh, I just saw the screen go up. Okay. Yeah, COVID's a good question.
Just because that has changed some this year. And I'm not here to make some sort of a statement about what is right or wrong, because it's not my place, and it's not any of our place to choose what is right or wrong for another person. There's a lot of opinions out there about what everyone should be doing, if they should cancel the holidays or they should make different accommodations. And I just want to encourage everyone to give space for everyone's opinions, and we're all working through this differently. And so some people really are prioritizing safety from COVID over everything. And some people are not prioritizing that over everything. And there's a lot of demonizing of each other regarding whatever choice you make. And these are personal decisions. And if you want to sit out from Thanksgiving because you feel like it's a risk, then sit it out. And that's great. That's fine. That's your intuition gets to lead that. And if you choose to host, and that's what you feel called to do, and you feel like human connection is more of an importance for you than safety from this pandemic, and you feel like you need to honor that, then there's no mistake in that. And we get to honor each other's intuitive decisions, and knowing that that is perfect and right for everyone else. We get to have autonomy here and sovereignty. We have sovereignty to make our own decisions about where we go and what's going to happen in our own households. I trust that people are sensible.
And there's safety precautions even in that. We can still be safe with what we're doing.
Yeah. And I really do believe that people are good at making those decisions, and they can choose to have smaller groups. They can choose to have different cooking precautions. There's just different things that people are going to do.
Thanksgiving in shifts.
And I honor the fact that even though COVID is a thing and it's a risk, I also honor the fact that people are hurting from isolation, and people are really craving connection, and that can be a death of its own.
Yes.
And so we get to honor all of these needs, and we get to stop thinking that we know what is best and right for everyone. So I know that this is tough. This is such a tough year in so many ways, and we've been confronted with so many different opinions and really, really strong feelings.
And right and wrongness.
So it's gonna get rougher before it gets better. I think that's the general feeling. But just like we talked about last week, unity is so important that we don't lose sight of that.
And the overall is always what's honoring. What is honoring to people? Yeah, just come from that. The golden rule is in every religion, just so you know. Do unto others the way you want to be treated. It's in every religion and in every culture. So just thinking about that is super important. Unity is a big deal.
It is. Yeah, and we have we bought into a lot of illusions lately about how division has become very tempting. Like that is the right way. That's the right thing to do. And a lot of wars have been fought over thinking that we have the right way. And so let's not repeat that pattern.
No,
There's
no.
other ways.
Well, our very survival depends on each other.
Yeah, and this is a time of year to celebrate and to be in unity and to be enjoying each other and enjoying festivities. I've seen so many things ruined this year. This is not one that we have to participate in ruining. There's a lot of people that are going to tell you that you do have to. You have to do it a certain way, and you have to prioritize.
Listen to your gut. Yeah, you'll know.
Yeah, your intuition always knows best. Better than me, better than Marie, better than any other voice out there. Your intuition knows best always.
No, wait, we know everything. Back to the beginning.
Every man is a teacher.
Truth.
I do want to close with saying, if you want to take this conversation deeper, this is actually the topic for my monthly Patreon call. So I have a Patreon group coming up in December, and I know that this is a hot topic for a lot of people, our holiday expectations. So this is something that I'm going to be doing more of a deep dive. So if you'd like more information on that, please feel free to reach out. That will be the first Tuesday of December, and I believe that's actually December 1st. So if you'd like more information, reach out on that. If you have any questions for Marie or I, you're welcome to
yes, please.
Reach out. My email address is defytheaverage@gmail.com. And
Marie at mariesgold.com. So yeah, we love those invitations and those conversations.
Yeah, we'd love to hear if you disagree with us, if you have something to challenge us with. Can't speak. If you have questions, if you have a personal experience you would like to share, we'd love to hear it. Also, if you'd like to see any of our previous episodes, if you'd like to listen in, you can find us at our Facebook group, Braveheart Conversations. We're there every Thursday morning. And you can catch all the reruns. We are on like episode 54, which is so incredible to me. But yeah, please check us out. You can find us on Spotify, Podbean, iTunes, all the different places. So with that, we'll go ahead and wrap up today. I hope that you have a beautiful week, and we'll see you next time.
God bless you.
Bye-bye.